Head Start is an early learning childcare daycare center. We run programs from 18 months to 6 years in various classrooms. They teach culture. There's family support in it as well, because the younger age children come in with their parent or caregiver.
Okay.
So there's cultural development. There's 6 core components. Culture and language is the main component that we try to stress. Language, nutrition, community development, outreach, networking, things such as that, so that we help the family as well, or the caregiver. Traditional languages are used in the classroom, but they're not, our ECEs are not fluent speakers. When you go into a classroom, you'll see a lot of the language used, or you'll hear them teaching the children to count to 10 in the language, or say bean again when they're coming in the doors, or come in, or McWitch for thank you, things such as that. So it's because of the age group of the children, we try to use the language, but not fluently. The other reason is because a lot of the children may come from outlying communities, and we may not have the same dialect as they do.
Right, okay.
Okay, so that's another reason why it's not fluent. Head Start is known to be very well known to teach the language and culture and have it integrated. We have usually Aboriginal or Indigenous ECEs that's teaching it, or that are very comfortable with the culture and knowledgeable as well, and are willing to learn it. In other daycares, you don't have that as a core component, and part of it's our ability to interweave it throughout the whole thing. So as part of it, as an example, nutrition. So you may find moose stew here, okay, as part of the nutrition. You'll see outside the community garden, where we teach the children through a gardening ceremony in the spring how to plant the garden.
I noticed the garden.
And what it's for. Throughout the summer, we have volunteers that work the garden, but in the fall, the children will come and harvest the garden. They'll help to pull the potatoes. Actually, one year we even had to replant the potatoes after the children left during the day, so that the next day they could take the potatoes back out. But then they're also taught, right? Like, what's the potatoes used? We plant the corn and the squash and the beans together, so that they can make Three Sisters soup, and they learn how to do that. One classroom, with the little bit older children, 5-year-old children, 4 and 5 years old, they bring them into the kitchen and teach them how to make bannock. So like it's interwoven throughout all areas. Actually, we have quite a few where it's the grandparents that's bringing the child in.
Okay.
And in some instances, they do come to the parent and taught program. So the grandparents may learn how to make regalia for their grandchild, a shawl for graduation, or we try to do something similar to that, because we usually do a small powwow with the children on graduation day. Every child graduates at the end of the year, not just the ones that are going into kindergarten.
Okay.
Because a lot of them are changing classrooms, so then they're graduating from one classroom to the next, or for the parent and taught program into the regular daycare or childcare component. Each week the ECs give the parents a sort of like a report card on their child of what they've done that week. What they've eaten, and we can see the growth of a child then throughout 3 months or 6 months, or for the duration of the program for that year, because we run from September till June. Okay, so we can see a difference then in that child as well, because we do some speech and language with them. We have people come in to help with that. We can see the growth in a child that way as well. Some children, when they come to us, are very quiet and very shy, but you can see how they begin to network and interact with the other kids, and how they grow throughout the year as well. And that's another measurement, although it's seeing it. And also the parents or the caregivers will tell us, our child's now talking more. They're saying this more, or we can see that they're sharing their toys better with their siblings now, things such as that. We have some that are on social assistance, the parents, and they're bringing their children in, all the way to we have students in LU that have their children here, to some professionals that bring their children in as well. So it is a wide range. To me, we know the education system has not done a true portrayal of Indigenous people throughout the years. The youth and the children need to be educated correctly on what happened throughout the years. It's coming more to light now than when I was in school. Okay, but it still needs to be done. For me, an ideal would be that it would be Indigenous people teaching it to everyone. It doesn't matter whether they're Indigenous or not, but to do the true teachings of that we were here on this land, that this is our land, and also that the educators be teaching it. For a while there, I've been in Indigenous work for the last 25, 30 years. And even when a number of years ago, education started talking about teaching Indigenous curriculum and Indigenous subjects in the schools, when you'd go to places where you could buy materials, or the teachers would buy materials, you look at the books, they were all from the States. It wasn't ours. It wasn't from here. They weren't utilizing elders to come in and teach what was happening here. Or very seldom. There was a couple schools that would invite an elder in on June 21st to do a bit of teachings, or invite another Indigenous organization to come in and do some teachings that way. But it was all superfluous, I guess. It was, how do you make a dream catcher and what is it? Or, like it was very, can you make earrings or a choker with the kids? So things that are very, they're important to our culture, but that isn't the only thing with our culture. We have a really good start with Head Start, okay? For me, when Head Start started a number of years ago, before that there was a prenatal postnatal program that the government funded. It's still in existence, okay, which is the Canada Prenatal Nutrition Program. So there, that one started, and then it was Kelsey program, which was Community Action Program for Children, which was more like a family support program for ages 0 to 6 years of age. So it went from prenatal up to postnatal 6 months, and then Kelsey went on. And then in 95 or 97, Head Start began. Okay, so then they took over from ages 18 months or 2 years, depending upon the community, up to 6 years. Now we have Biwasea, which is one of Shkoday Abinojiiwak Obimiwedoon's programs that works in the school system with certain schools that we're allowed into from ages 7 to 13. This last year we expanded to Churchill High School, which goes up to 18 or 19 years of age. So we have a good continuum now of service. I would like to see that done more often in other communities, because in some instances I expect we're going to end up with a child right from 18 months all the way through to 18 or 19 years that is learning the culture, that is learning the traditions, and having it interwoven into the education system. Ideally, that would be better in more of the classrooms, and that the teachers in the schools learn, Indigenous Gaji way of teaching instead. Just because a lot of our students or our way of life teaches us not to, we need to see it, okay? Do it instead of opening the book and reading it. And we do the same thing with the children. The bannock is an idea, right? They get their hands in there, they're learning, okay? They're learning how to count, like how many teaspoons go in, right? They may do it in Ojibwe, that counting for how many teaspoons in. Things such as that. So it's all interwoven. I would like to see that more broad-based than what it is right now. We have a good stepping stone right now into the school system and through the Ministry of Education. Do I think that should be expanded to the rest of Northwestern Ontario and then Ontario? Definitely. But I think it would, do I think the ministry should take it over to do it? No, because it's not going to have the same success. And I think that a similar model could take place throughout Canada. The other part of it is, and I sort of briefly touched on it a minute ago, is that we have to educate the teachers on how to teach and how to watch and how to talk to the students in the schools. Because here in Thunder Bay, as an example, we have a lot of people coming in from outlying communities once they hit high school. Not only for Dennis Franklin Community School, but for the other high schools as well. And the students, some of them are not, the teachers aren't reaching them. And I know it's frustrating for the teachers because I've talked to some of them that they can't reach these students. And even though they try, what they're doing isn't working, they find. And so they're looking for ways to learn as well. And that has to be taught how to do that and has to be monitored. We're working with a gentleman has briefly done that through a pilot project this last year.
Okay.
So yes, I do see if that could be expanded, I think it would be ideal because those teachers that took part in that program last year, the research results of that has been phenomenal, and with the students that they've worked with.
Wonderful.
So the end report is not finalized, it's supposed to be finalized this month. So by then we will have some research that shows the need for that as well. We would need additional space. Right now we are at capacity, that's why we have a wait list. You'd need the extra resources to go along with it, the cultural materials. I know in addition to the funding, which would include elder honorariums, things like that, we have to be able to have elders that come in that know the teachings. And unfortunately right now, we're losing some of our elders that have all those teachings. And the elders that are up and coming, we're missing an age group there because of residential school that they don't have all the teachings. So we need that as well, okay, to build into it before. And we are getting some of the younger ones that are starting to learn. And then, which is great, but we also need the teachers that are Indigenous or the ECEs that are Indigenous to continue to be good role models for the students. That's an important part of what we do, is being the good role model for the students themselves. So funding, resources, acceptance, space. Like here, we did four community consultation groups last year. And one of the things we asked all of our participants, the parents and caregivers and community members, is what do you like about the Head Start space right now? What if we could expand, what would you see? And they're all telling us a place where there's land, a place where you can take the children for walks through the trees. We don't want to be in a real urban city block where it's all cement around you. They want it to be out in nature so that they can learn how to trap. They can have the teepee. They can, we can have a fire. We can have a garden, a playground area. So those are all things that we would need to be able to continue to grow.